As soon as the words were spoken, Evangeline rushed towards Ash. Seeing this familiar stance, Ash confirmed she must be the daughter of the front count. The next second, Evangeline's attack was blocked by Lucas's sword. Put down your spear. The person in front of you is the Empire's third prince. Not only do you occupy someone else's house, but now you also falsely claim to be royalty. Taking advantage of Lucas's distraction, Evangeline kicked the sword out of his hand. The third prince is a well-known playboy. How could he possibly come to such a remote place? From the look in Lucas's eyes, it was clear he was taking this seriously. Ash had not expected things to turn out this way. This uncle has quite the skill. Of course, Miss Evangeline, I was also your senior at the academy. I am Lucas Mackerger, the salutatorian of the 369th class of the Imperial Royal Academy. And behind me is Prince Ash. He too was your senior at the academy, a legend among the students of the 369th class. Ash was curious why the owner of this body had such a story. Apparently, Ash, being a prince, had vowed to be the last in his class at the Imperial Royal Academy. Now you even falsely claim to be my school seniors. Do you think I am an idiot who cannot distinguish school seniors? But since you want to play, I will play along. The valedictorian, who graduated early from the 375th class, Evangeline Cross, greets the two seniors from the 369th class. Thus, Evangeline and Lucas ended up grappling with each other, and by the looks of it, both were seriously fighting. Perhaps because they were both SSRs, their fight was very intense. Although such a battle was an eye-opener for Ash. But if this continues, someone will definitely get hurt. Enough already. There must be some misunderstanding. Let's have a proper talk and clear it up. But the two knights were already fully immersed in their fight, completely ignoring Ash's words. Having no other choice, Ash had to rely on his lucky strike gloves to stop this meaningless fight. He thought, as long as he doesn't inflict too much damage, it would be enough to calm them both down. However, an accident happened. Ash's punch landed on Evangeline's shield, and the lucky strike gloves actually dealt 777 damage. Ash had not expected that he would draw this unexpected number at this moment. Evangeline discovered that her shield was suddenly glowing with colorful lights. The next second, the glow enveloped the entire Lord's mansion, and Ash, who threw that punch, was also quite frightened by it. He didn't understand why, at such a time, he would be so lucky to hit the jackpot. Your Highness, that punch of yours was quite something. How did you manage to do that? But no matter what, Evangeline is still just a child. How could you strike a child so harshly? Lucas, you don't think she stopped breathing, do you? Evangeline remembered every time monsters invaded the city when she was a child, her mother would always come to her room to stay with her. Mom came to comfort you because she was worried you were afraid of the monsters. Even though her mother always said that, Evangeline knew that it was actually her mother who was afraid of the monsters. Mom, really, Dad will defeat all the monsters. There's nothing to be afraid of. But Evangeline later understood it wasn't the monsters her mother feared, but losing her father and worrying that one day her daughter would also face the fate of fighting on that perilous front line. Thus, the image of her mother gradually faded from Evangeline's memory. She woke up. Around her was a scent she was all too familiar with. It turned out Evangeline had returned to her own room. With a knock on the door, Evangeline's room door opened. Hearing someone enter, she immediately covered herself with her blanket. Ash walked straight in, sitting on the chair beside Evangeline's bed. We haven't seen each other in 3 years. How have you been during this time? It's quite obvious even without asking. You like hunting monsters so much. You must be having fun every day. Actually, Evangeline didn't want to say these words, but thinking of her father, the words just unconsciously came out. I'm sorry, Evangeline, I'm not your dad. Evangeline then realized that her body was wrapped in bandages, and her weapons had also been taken away. It seems I was indeed too harsh yesterday. So it was you, the uncle from yesterday, looking frail but throwing crazy punches. Anyway, let me introduce myself one last time. I am the third prince of the Empire and the current Lord of Crossroad, Ash von Hyder Everblack, a bandit who seized the Lord's mansion, claiming to be the Lord here, and even pretending to be the Empire's third prince. I'm not a 3-year-old. Why are you still spouting nonsense? Ash didn't say anything. He just calmly took out his emblem, the household tag of the Everblack royalty. It's actually real. I'm a fan of the prince. Could you sign an autograph for me? Although Ash felt a bit helpless, he still did as Evangeline requested. Is it because I'm the Empire's most famous playboy that you became my fan? Don't you know? You're the most unruly playboy in the entire Empire. I've always wanted to rebel against my father, not only causing trouble, but also acting recklessly, even tarnishing the family name. So I ran away from home and enrolled in the Royal Academy, which my father despises the most. But instead of rebelling, I was even forced to become a model student there. Ash knew well that Evangeline wasn't just a model student. She completed the 6-year course in just 3 years and graduated early as the valedictorian. She was a genius who would leave her mark on the Academy's history. My only act of rebellion was not contacting my father for 3 years. That's quite an adorable form of rebellion. But at that time, I heard about your legend. Despite having the Emperor as your father, you had the guts to make him angry every day, with different trouble each week. Not only did you make a fountain out of gold, but you also laid out carpets made of gemstones. I heard the Emperor was so furious that he nearly had a heart attack. You're amazing. So cool, Prince. You're my role model. Ash didn't expect that his trashy life could actually become someone else's inspiration. But speaking of which, Prince, where's the old man from my family? I'm planning to use the Playboy filial piety method that I learned from watching you to deal with him one step at a time. Did he find out in advance and hide? Evangeline, so you didn't return because of the news? What news? I just came home after graduating. Upon hearing Evangeline's words, Ash couldn't help but clench his fists. Prince, did something happen here? I'm sorry to inform you in this way, Miss Evangeline, but your father, Cheryl Cross, the front count, has passed away. He sacrificed his life a few days ago in a battle against monsters, saving everyone in the city. His sacrifice was truly honorable. I have recorded your father's great deeds in detail and reported them to the royal family. Given his many years of service, he should receive the Royal Military Medal. The funeral will be held in 3 days, and I plan to conduct it with the highest honors. So it turns out, I had planned to officially become an unfilial daughter from now on, but it seems he has already escaped. He always said he would die on the battlefield fighting monsters, and it really happened that way. I still had complaints, but he has already left. I still hadn't finished complaining, and he just left like that. I'm sorry. As the current lord and commander on the front lines, your father's sacrifice is my responsibility, so you should rightfully blame me. Uncle, are you really Prince Ash? I heard that the prince was only concerned with himself and didn't care about the feelings of those around him. A reckless playboy. Stop calling me a playboy in front of me. There will be a servant waiting at the door. Command them if you need anything. Just as Ash was about to leave, Evangeline called out to him again. I'm really sorry about yesterday, the carriage, and everything. I understand. You should rest now. With that, the room was left with only Evangeline again. Prince Ash, you should first know Miss Evangeline's age. She is still a student, 2 years younger than Damien. She was supposed to appear in the game in the end of the 2nd year or the beginning of the 3rd year at the earliest, but due to various situations in the game, she appeared earlier than usual. I see. No wonder Evangeline looks different from her character in the game. As a tank class, Evangeline's agility is unusually high. Just these stats alone qualify her for the title of the strongest tank. However, at this time, Ash discovered a strange characteristic. Because Evangeline is still young, she might make both big and small mistakes on the battlefield. This shows that appearing too early might not be entirely beneficial. But Evangeline is still a child, and at her age, she should not be on the battlefield but should be playing and having fun with friends like any normal person. Suddenly, a sharp pain struck Ash's brain, reminding him of a familiar figure. Your Highness, do you want to invite Evangeline to join the team? Ader's question brought Ash back to reality, but Ash did not answer him. Don't you plan to invite her? Miss Evangeline could become a great asset in battle. To say I don't want her would be impossible. That would definitely be a lie. But Ash had once promised the front count, the deceased lord's last words, that he did not want his daughter caught up in the family curse. I have to keep my promise. I plan to let that kid do whatever she wants, whatever she likes. But, Lord, your expression tells a different story. It might be better to force her to stay. You'll regret it for the rest of your life if you miss her. I'm sure I will regret it, but I don't want to compromise human morals just to succeed. But didn't you make it through Iron Man Hell mode precisely because you didn't hold morality too highly? If I use the same methods to succeed again, doesn't that mean I haven't made any progress? I want to be stronger than I was yesterday. The constraints of morality will one day choke you, my lord. Though I don't intend to act like a saint, I also don't want to become a monster. Even in this world where human life is as light as a feather, I still want to be human, that's all. Regardless, help me take care of her. She's going through adolescence and is probably feeling very conflicted. But, Lord, how should we handle Miss Evangeline's spear and shield? After appraisal, her weapons, both SSR items, were found to be too damaged to even be used as materials. How should we compensate her? You know, in this world, SSR items represent value and rarity. Right, we could make her a new set of equipment. After all, there's still some of the high-grade mana core left from the last group battle. That mana core has already been used up to make mana guns. My Lucky Strike gloves is also an SSR item. Can I compensate her with that? That's definitely not possible. Lord, who would want such a useless item? If that's the case, then there's only one thing to do. Have the team assemble. We should go gather mana cores now. It's also time to inspect the dungeon. Thus, a few hours later, everyone gathered in the backyard of the Lord's mansion. It feels like it's been a while. Has everyone rested well these past few days? From the looks of it, they were all prepared for the dungeon inspection. All except for Lily. Why me again? Didn't you say there are some newcomers this time? Take them instead. Though it's true there are new mercenaries, they're all unranked, which for now isn't sufficient to join the main team. If I could find a character good enough to replace you, I wouldn't want to force you like this every time. Just then, an unexpected person appeared. Where are you all going? Seeing the sudden appearance of a stranger, Lily also stopped what she was doing. Some of you might be seeing her for the first time, so say hello. She's the only daughter of the front count, Evangeline Cross. The moment they heard the name, everyone immediately saluted the girl in front of them. Even the usually irreverent Jupiter became serious. Please accept our condolences for your father, Lady Evangeline. Thank you all for your concern, but it's okay. So, where are you preparing to go now? We're heading to the dungeon. Where around this city would there be such a thing? Are you talking about the dungeon under the lake? That's just an absurd old tale. Although occasionally some foolish adventurers flock there for the treasures beneath the lake. None have ever returned alive. This is not an absurd story. We've already been there. So you mean to say, there's a dungeon in the place managed by generations of the Cross family that I don't know about, and the prince himself has been there? It's possible your family has always known, just not you. Evangeline didn't take the lessons that an heir should, so even if this secret has been passed down through the Cross family, she couldn't possibly know. Regardless of whether you believe it or not, we're setting out now. Don't be fooled by my size. I am the valedictorian of the Royal Academy, and I am confident I can outperform anyone in combat. Moreover, I am the sole heir to the Cross family. My parents died because of the monsters that came from the lake, so I have the right to go. However, it was for this very reason that Ash did not want to take her. Her parents' last wish was for her to escape the confines of the Cross family. Are you physically well? Especially well. And how about your mood? Have you calmed down now? Doing nothing would only make things messier. Better to get moving. Just take me with you. With that said, Ash had no reason to continue refusing her. Moreover, Ash felt the expectant gaze of someone behind him. If that's the case, Lily, you stay in Crossroad. After Evangeline joined the team, a new team buff appeared. Dual Knights increased physical defense for all team members by 20%. Since Evangeline joined temporarily, Ader brought over the equipment she used as a child. Are we all ready to depart? Seeing everyone's readiness, Ash knew they were prepared. I will introduce the team members to you in detail on the way. Now, we are departing. Junior Evangeline, let me, your senior, take you to the hidden wonders of your hometown. Soon, the group arrived at the first area, the dried sewer. Your Highness, haven't we already surveyed this area? Why are we here again? Because not only have new members joined, but I also think that coordination is more efficient in simpler areas. Are you saying the monsters have returned here? Exactly that. After a defense battle ends, the monsters in the dungeon will resurrect. That's why players can continuously level up and farm items. Especially since the monsters in the beginner areas are less dangerous, it's suitable for the reserve team to level up here. The main team is responsible for strategizing and surveying the dungeon, opening paths to deeper areas, and defeating bosses to clear stages. Although Ash leads the main team, to give Evangeline time to adapt to the dungeon, he brought them to the simplest first area. But Evangeline, using teleportation for the first time, immediately felt unwell. So teleportation can make one feel dizzy. This is the first time I've seen someone get dizzy from teleportation. What are you two uncles looking at? I'm perfectly fine. How can that be? Miss, you look very strained. Ash had thought that since both were tanks, they would get along well, but so far, that doesn't seem to be the case. After Evangeline recovered, they headed deeper into the dungeon. There really is such a place. How did you know about it, Your Highness? Even as a member of the Cross family, I didn't know. Ash had anticipated she would ask this, so he had already thought of an excuse. The Emperor would not send me here without reason. From their reactions, it was clear this explanation was very plausible. In this empire, the Emperor's name is a good reason. Wherever mentioned, his name makes everything seem reasonable. Let's keep moving. There are many things I'm not at liberty to discuss. Evangeline, visiting the Kingdom of the Lake for the first time, seemed very uncomfortable. She hadn't expected it to be so dark here. You'll need to get used to it quickly because the whole dungeon is shrouded in this darkness. If you're afraid of the dark, you should go back now. What a joke. I'm not afraid of the dark. After joking with Ash, Evangeline visibly relaxed. She didn't say much after that. Soon, Ash stopped. What's the monster we're hunting today? A rumbling noise surrounded them, and a giant golem stood in front of Ash. The task in the first room was to eliminate 4 stone golems inside the room. It's worth noting that golems are not easy monsters to deal with early on. Just the thought of these large creatures swarming could be overwhelming. Perhaps because it was her first time in the dungeon, Evangeline seemed a bit nervous. This was when a commander needed to step up. Now that the enemy is right in front of us, let's see what you all are capable of. Eager to prove herself, Evangeline rushed forward first. With a loud boom, Evangeline blocked the golem's attack with her shield, but the tingling sensation in her arm foretold the monster's strength. Evangeline then used a skill to store the absorbed damage. Although you're monsters, your strength is ridiculously strong. Never mind, take this move first. Saying this, Evangeline charged forward with her spear. Her second skill allows her to return all stored damage to her target. This is another reason, besides her stats, that makes her the strongest tank. Although there is a limit to how much damage she can store, it doesn't stop her from dealing high output as a tank. After dealing with one golem, Evangeline immediately rushed towards the other monsters. Just then, an accident happened. Evangeline slipped and fell due to the current flaws in her traits. Everyone hurry over there. We must not let Evangeline get injured. Almost instantly, Jupiter's lightning and Lucas's slash eradicated the remaining golems. Thus, the dungeon's conquest proceeded smoothly. Perhaps due to the fall, Evangeline seemed particularly serious in the subsequent battles. Within less than an hour, they had cleared the entire dungeon. The first area was too easy. It didn't serve the purpose of training at all. You all should be warmed up by now. Rest for a bit, and then immediately proceed to conquer the second area. Before long, the group arrived at a hidden alleyway. This was the place they were to survey today. The second area was much tougher than the first, and they must not lower their guard. Before heading to survey the second area, Ash decided to rest for a while. Even if the first area was simple, it was still tiring. The upcoming battles would not allow for any mistakes. As the protagonist of the entire world, the man always competed with a child, even arguing over meals. Ash didn't know what to make of these two. Damien, are you feeling alright? Of course, I haven't done anything strenuous. Here, take this. From now on, this will be your weapon. The last time Ash opened a chest, he obtained an SR grade mana gun. The mana gun was a small blunt weapon designed for individual operation of a mana cannon. Although powerful, it was hard to aim. Moreover, the mana gun was unstable and had a low ammunition capacity. Due to its many drawbacks, it was considered a non-mainstream weapon, but these shortcomings would not be a problem if Damien used the mana gun. Your Highness, this gun is much heavier than a stone crossbow. Then you'll need to build up your strength. Ash didn't tell Damien that he would have to carry 5 or 6 such heavy guns in the future. Due to the insufficient ammunition capacity, multiple mana guns were needed to compensate for this drawback. If things went as expected, the blacksmith would now be earnestly making them. Although in games, a character could only use one weapon, this was reality, and carrying several guns would not be an issue. Thank you, Your Highness. I will be extra careful when using it. So, has everyone rested well? Let's continue on. Before long, the group had packed up their supplies, raised their torches again, and headed towards the second area of this dungeon. The completely dark alley of the Lake Kingdom appeared especially pitch black, and Ash led the team carefully forward. Although it wasn't apparent while playing the game, walking through this path in person, Ash realized the atmosphere here was quite creepy. Just thinking about a golem as big as a house suddenly appearing in the alley was chilling. Just as Ash was thinking this, a golem suddenly appeared in front of everyone. The task in this room was to eliminate 2 level 15 elite steam engine golems. Because the surrounding alleys were pitch dark, they didn't realize they had already entered the first dungeon room. The sudden appearance of the steam engine golem plunged the team into chaos. Everyone, fall back. Your Highness, I'll hold it off. As soon as he finished speaking, Lucas drew his sword and slashed at the steam engine golem. Lucas, be careful. There should be another one. At that moment, the second steam engine golem appeared beside Lucas. Uncle, you're making too much of a fuss. It looks like you need my help. Almost instantly, Evangeline blocked the attack from the second steam engine golem. They're much stronger than the last bunch. Ash was planning tactics while the two knights held them off. His role in this team was to be the commander. Jupiter, Damien, let's attack the golem that Lucas is holding off. After all, Lucas leans more towards being a warrior, while Evangeline is a true tank. In terms of resilience, Evangeline has the upper hand. Evangeline, switch completely to defense mode. Block that thing. Although there were fewer of these large monsters like golems, it also meant that each one was very powerful. Moreover, these guys also had elite titles, making it natural for Lucas to struggle in a head-on fight. Now's the time. Lucas, chop off its legs. As soon as he finished speaking, Lucas cleanly struck with his sword. After losing a leg, the steam engine golem's movement was impaired. Jupiter, blast off the chest armor to expose its mana core. Your Highness, at your service. Instantly, lightning enveloped the monster's entire body. However, surprisingly, Jupiter's attack only left a small gap in the golem. Damn, isn't that attack enough? It will be enough. Damien doesn't need a big opening. A small crack is enough. Go! Damien, aim at the spirit core. Fire. The moment the bullet was shot, Damien was also thrown back by the strong recoil. However, Ash had already stepped behind him in advance. Damien, are you okay? I'm fine. What about the golem? See for yourself. Saying this, Ash pointed ahead. I didn't expect this enemy to be so tough. It's definitely much stronger than the ordinary monsters. Being an elite, compared to the first area, the difficulty has suddenly increased. Got you panicked, right? It seems that the hunting method in the second area should be to hunt a few elite monsters. Why are you all starting to rest? It's like everything is over. I'm not done here yet, because it's too quiet on your end. The interception went too smoothly. Where is it quiet? My shield is almost broken. Ash quickly directed them to kill the second steam engine golem, and afterward, the conquest became much simpler. As soon as they felt the alley widen slightly, sure enough, a steam engine golem would appear. Along the way, they also encountered treasure chest monsters disguised as treasure chests, which gave Ash quite a hard time, easing the tense atmosphere from earlier in the conquest. After that, they tried to explore more places. Lucas even reached his hand into the darkness. The darkness seems to be pushing my hand. I don't like this sticky and damp feeling at all. It seems we can only go out by following the designated path. We have to honestly follow this road. It seems the houses around here can't be entered either. The doors and windows of those houses have been boarded up, and these boards have been magically treated. They can't be opened by brute force. Is it to protect the house from something outside? No, Damien, these boards are sealed from outside the house to prevent something inside the house from getting out. So what exactly is inside these boarded up houses? I don't know either. Maybe we don't need to know yet. Thus, the group could only continue exploring along the path. The fourth room was a vast square, and everyone tensed up, not knowing where the golems might appear from. There's a fountain over there, and you can see something like statues. The person on the statue is wearing a crown. He must be the king of the Lake Kingdom. Ash was curious why only the statues on the left and right were destroyed. Your Highness, look over there. Following the direction Damien was pointing, a blue flame appeared before everyone. The fourth room of the dungeon had no monsters, which made Ash's group even more tense. The flame not far away signaled the presence of others. In a city filled with monsters, the only thing scarier than the monsters is people, because anyone you meet here can't be normal. Ash wasn't sure whether they would encounter hostile NPCs or friendly ones. A careless mistake could end the game, so they couldn't afford to be careless. Along the way, they saw debris of golems everywhere, meaning that person had dealt with all the monsters here. I didn't expect you to make it here. It seems you've been very thorough in your survey of this place. Turns out, this person was Moomyung, which Ash had met during his first visit. Although Ash had met Moomyung only once, he did not let his guard down. After all, Ash had never encountered Moomyung in previous games, so he couldn't be sure if she was a friendly NPC. I'm resting here because living in the Lake Kingdom is really tiring. Since you managed to get here after successfully clearing the dungeon, I can only acknowledge you. Check this out. Seeing Moomyung's action, everyone instantly went into battle mode. Unexpectedly, Moomyung pulled out a package from her clothes, containing some rare items and equipment. You've come all this way. Why not buy something? I can sell you high-quality goods at a low price. Ash realized then that the mysterious Moomyung was actually a merchant NPC, and there was even a buy one get one free offer. You can also enjoy a 30% repeat discount on your first purchase. Are you really not planning to buy? Are you just going to watch this super bargain opportunity from afar? Such a big discount isn't always available. Hearing this, Ash couldn't help but ask, so what are you selling here? These are items I've collected over the years wandering the Lake Kingdom, all precious items that can't be bought in the human world. Feel free to look. While typically merchant NPCs have high-quality items, the quality of Moomyung's goods was extremely high. How do we pay? Money from the outside world has no meaning here. Pay with magic stones or mana cores. Magic stones are a settlement item that can be exchanged for imperial currency or used for dungeon transactions. Ash inwardly groaned. He had already exchanged all his magic stones for imperial currency, as it was hard to encounter merchant NPCs in the initial stages. Now, he only had the mana cores he had just farmed. He took out all the mana cores he had. How much are these worth in magic stones? To be honest, not much. However, since it's your first time shopping here, and I can see you've taken your strategy here more seriously than I expected, you can pick one item. Consider it a boost of encouragement. You can't go back on your word. You said I could pick one from these items. For a moment, Ash was torn about what to choose. All this old lady wants is to eat a 200-year-old ginseng to look 10 years younger. Jupiter, better save up and buy it yourself. Your Highness, how about these feathered boots? They also come with a bonus to increase movement speed. I think they would allow the Lord to escape quickly when in danger. Hearing Lucas's words, Ash felt warmed, but his reason told him not to waste this opportunity on himself. This seems to be a potion generator. I heard it automatically generates potions every once in a while. If we put this in the temple, it should be very helpful for treating injured soldiers, but since potions are readily available outside, he felt it would be wasteful to exchange for this. Ash suddenly noticed that Evangeline was just standing by watching. Why don't you choose? I'm currently only temporarily part of this team, and I'm not interested in gear. When I graduated, the principal gave me the highest grade spear and shield as a gift, and that's enough for me. Hearing this, Ash suddenly remembered that their main purpose this time was to compensate for Evangeline's weapon. Do you have any cavalry spears or shields here? Coincidentally, I happen to have a set. Moomyung then took out a set of SSR grade equipment. This set was not only very cool looking, but also performed excellently. The only downside was that these two pieces of equipment were a set, and if you only had one, you couldn't achieve the best effect. As I said before, there's a buy one get one free offer right now. I can give you one for free, so you can take the whole set. This was originally a set of props, and they're not of much use to me, but in the future, you need to survey this place carefully, and just come and buy something when you see me occasionally. Thank you very much, Lady Moomyung. I will make good use of it. Evangeline, come and take this. Now that the compensatory equipment was secured, Ash told Evangeline the truth. Yesterday, I was the first to act, and your Highness only retaliated, meaning the responsibility for the damage lies with me. You don't need to worry too much about it. Then don't consider this as compensation, but as a gift. Ash then eagerly helped Evangeline put on the new equipment. This is from the Royal Prince, as a senior at the Academy, personally given to Evangeline Cross as a graduation gift. You wouldn't refuse a gift from royalty, would you? Actually, Ash did this more to dedicate himself to Front Count Cross, who sacrificed himself for the city. He not only failed to reward the Front Count's merits, but also damaged his daughter's equipment. If Ash ignored this, he wouldn't be able to forgive himself. Thank you, Your Highness. I will make good use of it. Merchant, since he won't buy for me, I have to do it myself. Get me a ginseng. Ash couldn't help but wonder where Jupiter got his magic stones. By the way, Moomyung, if possible, I'd like to ask you a question. Do you know the Pied Piper? This NPC caused Ash a lot of trouble in Stage 2, but had almost no presence in previous games. However, according to Moomyung, he had become a rather famous man in the Lake Kingdom. If you proceed, there's a safe zone between the 3rd and 4th areas, a place where those who still retain their sanity in this dungeon often go. The people here call that place the base camp. Ash, of course, knew this place. It was a safe stronghold he often visited in previous games. It was a gathering place for NPCs to regroup, so there were a lot of facilities, and many merchants congregated there. the man you're looking for is likely to go there. Even if not, you can gather information from others there. Of course, getting there requires breaking through some territory, but I believe you can make it smoothly. Then we'll see you next time. I hope you're still alive by then. It's surprising that there are merchants in such a place. She really is interesting. You can't fully trust that woman. Her strength is too formidable. To handle these things so calmly alone shows she's not ordinary. Ash knew very well that if Lucas was in the later stages of the game, he could easily do these things too. So, Ash had already mentally categorized Moomyung as a friendly NPC. Let's not think about other things now. Let's go challenge the boss mob. With that, the group arrived at the last room of the second area. It seems something broke the seal and ran out. Although I don't know what was inside before, it seems the seal was useless. Anyway, we should head this way. Do we really have to go in? Otherwise, let's go back. We've come this far. We might as well see what the wild beast boss looks like before we go back. After entering the room, Ash noticed that the interior space was very large, and it looked like it used to be a warehouse. Signs of water moss were visible everywhere, clearly indicating that the area had been submerged in water for a long time. After all, being under a lake, it's not surprising that it was soaked. Your Highness, look there. Following the direction Damien was pointing, Ash saw a gigantic robot lying there. Damn, this isn't just a piece of scrap metal. This turned out to be the boss of the second area, a giant steam engine golem, the storage cleaner by Ambulak. Ash also noticed that this boss also had a human name. The boss in the first area had a human name as well, and Ash wasn't sure if there was a connection between the two. But before he could think further, the huge steam engine golem moved. Damn, I've accidentally fallen asleep again. It slowly stood up and began turning towards where Ash and the others were. The warehouse is a mess today, so let's start cleaning after a long time. Although the incident was sudden, Ash and the others weren't fully prepared, but Lucas and Evangeline immediately stood at the front of the team. However, before Ash could ponder further, the giant steam engine golem's lasers were already firing. In an instant, two beams of light reached them. At the critical moment, Lucas and Evangeline blocked the attack. It's a light magic that's hardly seen these days. Your Highness, how should we respond? Can you give us instructions? Although the monster in front of them was frighteningly large, Ash knew they had to stay calm. But Ash had already mastered how to conquer all the monsters in this world. Don't be intimidated by this guy's size. The method to defeat him is the same as the others we've faced before. Just destroy its mana cores. However, its mana cores are scattered throughout its body, totaling 10. Do you mean it will keep attacking fiercely until all the mana cores are destroyed? To completely finish it off, that's the only way. But once a mana core is destroyed, the corresponding part of its body will stop moving. Start by attacking its hands. Now that you've explained it, I'll go first. You can count on me to handle its right hand. In an instant, Jupiter and Damien destroyed the mana cores in the giant steam engine golem's hands. This disabled the monster's ability to shoot lasers. Everyone, stay alert. Next, we attack its legs to immobilize it. Lucas, Evangeline, go. My back has been hurting a lot lately. Could it be because I've been sweeping for a lifetime? The steam engine golem then twisted its body to launch an attack. Ash didn't expect the giant steam engine golem to attack in this manner. Fortunately, Lucas and Evangeline reacted quickly, and neither was hit. Although the steam engine golem's attacks were powerful, its movements were very slow due to its large size. You pile of scrap junk. Have you been mumbling something since the start? Evangeline destroyed one of the monster's mana cores with a thrust of her spear. Junior, you're doing well. As your senior, I naturally can't lose. Before he finished speaking, Lucas cut off another leg of the monster. After losing the mana cores in its legs, the giant steam engine golem collapsed to the ground. I also want to go to the royal court to study magic someday. I'm tired of this life, cleaning like a machine here. Evangeline, come back and defend. Jupiter, Damien, attack its right arm. The next second, two attacks broke the monster's right arm. One day I will develop a cleaning magic that will let my fellow janitors live a relaxed life. The steam engine golem was cut off mid-sentence as its only remaining left arm was also broken. With a loud boom, the giant steam engine golem, now limbless, fell to the ground. Lucas took the opportunity to leap onto the monster's back, raised his sword without hesitation, and destroyed the mana core in the monster's chest. The chest's mana core is also destroyed. Now only the head remains. But just then, the giant steam engine golem moved again. It's strange. I clearly remember having cleaned here already. The limbless monster suddenly moved, trying to attack Ash and the others with its head. Although Ash could easily dodge, the two behind him weren't so lucky. Forced to rely on the Lucky Strike gloves, Ash took a chance. Fortunately, this time Ash's luck was good. The Lucky Strike gloves dealt 125 points of damage, sending the monster's head flying off and silencing it for good. Despite appearing calm, Ash was actually filled with fear. Thankfully, Lady Luck was on Ash's side. Is it raining? Is it really raining now? Your Highness, please finish it off. Killing the boss will yield substantial experience, and currently, my level is the lowest. Ash certainly wouldn't pass up such a good opportunity and quickly dealt with the boss. So, it really is raining heavily. You damn monster, what have you been going on about? Thus, Ash and his team passed through the second area's boss room. After defeating the boss, everyone started searching the room for treasure chests, while Ash checked the experience and levels he had gained. Your Highness, there's a treasure chest and a path here. Ash immediately had Lucas block Jupiter, then opened the chest himself. Inside was an SR item, the Orb of Screams, coincidentally, an item that only mages could use. Since we only have one mage in the team, this can only go to you. It actually suits you as a wide area mage. Moreover, if you could get the You Must Scream set, every kill would apply a wide area terror effect. It's just unknown when we could get the rest of the 2 pieces of equipment. Besides, there were 2 highest grade SR mana cores in the chest. After tallying the loot, Ash led everyone to the next area. After a short walk, Ash stopped. Before them was a staircase that seemed to stretch endlessly. According to the latest information Ash had gathered, these were the stairs leading to the walls of the Lake Kingdom. After making sure they were on the right path, Ash continued to lead the way. Ash and the team climbed the stairs, and it wasn't long before Jupiter and Damien could hardly keep up. After a while, even Ash was exhausted. They finally reached the end of the stairs. At that moment, nearly everyone else in the team was exhausted and collapsed on the ground. In contrast, Lucas and Evangeline stood as if nothing had happened. Everyone has worked hard. Anyway, we finally made it. Just a little further, and we can go home. Hearing that they could soon go home, Jupiter excitedly rushed forward first. I'm going to take a hot bath as soon as I get back. One hand holding a whiskey, the other holding a cigar. However, when she went through that door, she suddenly stopped. Jupiter, what's wrong? Didn't you just say you wanted to go home right away? However, when the others also stepped through that door, they were just as stunned as Jupiter. It turned out this was the true appearance of the Lake Kingdom. It's truly unbelievable. I've never seen such a magnificent city. Not even the heart of the Empire can compare. The Lake Kingdom is the darkest place in the world, and those who enter are at risk of being consumed by darkness. Yet, when Ash and his team stood on the city walls, they found light everywhere. Light magic stones and permanent lights had been set up around the city, allowing the few survivors to safely come and go. What is that? Could it be a lighthouse? That's the royal castle of the Lake Kingdom, the last area I aim to survey one day, where the final battle against the ultimate boss will take place. However, Ash knew that reaching there was still a long way off. They had only recently entered the kingdom, coming in through the sewers and winding through alleys. They were now nearing the city's north gate. Anyway, let's discuss the route next time. After a day of fighting, everyone must be tired. Let's head home. They had set out in the afternoon for the survey, and it was almost evening by the time they returned. I'll sleep until dinner, eat some food, and then do some work. When Ash woke up, it was already the early hours of the next day. I thought I would sleep until the evening. I didn't realize how quickly time had passed. Next, Ash sorted through the items obtained on this trip. The reward from the second area was a blue fire torch, a very practical item for dungeon surveys. In addition, he had acquired a boss monster summoning scroll, a one-time item that could turn the giant steam engine golem into Ash's minion. Without hesitation, Ash used the scroll, making it available for use at a critical moment. After organizing the items, Ash's stomach started growling, so he decided to check the kitchen for something to eat. Unexpectedly, he ran into Lucas and Evangeline there. Seeing Ash suddenly appear, both were startled. What are you two doing here in the middle of the night without sleeping? I got hungry, came to the kitchen, and found this uncle sneaking some food. I came because I was hungry too. Is there any food left? There's still plenty of ingredients left, but we've finished all the prepared food. Are you guys very hungry? Seeing their expressions, Ash knew his question was somewhat redundant. Go wait at the dining table. I'll whip something up for you. Your Highness, you can cook. As a member of the royal family, you're actually cooking with your own hands? Is there a law that says royalty can't cook? And even if there was, what of it? I am royalty after all. Although he really wanted a steaming bowl of instant noodles, this world probably didn't have such a thing. Fortunately, this was the Lord's mansion, where the ingredients were quite plentiful. Ash didn't hesitate and started to cook in the pan. It's ready. Eat up and then go to sleep. This is the royal prince toast that I made. Ash took a bite himself and found it quite tasty. Although this world lacked those familiar sauces, the result was still pretty good. It's really delicious. Your Highness, you could be a royal chef. It's a great fortune to eat food made by my lord. It tastes just like the food sold on the streets during the festival. But suddenly Evangeline became despondent. What's wrong? This scene reminds me of the past. When I was little, I was often woken up in the early hours by rustling sounds from the kitchen. When I went down, I would always find Dad hurriedly making something to eat. Because monster attacks don't follow a schedule, he would only come back after repelling them late at night. Then he'd make some simple food to fill his stomach. He was always covered in blood and dust. If he caught my eye, he would just stare blankly at me, then ask, "Do you want some too?" So you ate with him every time? Yes, every time he asked, I ate, so my cheeks are still chubby. Then, while we were eating, Mom, who was later woken up by the noise, would come down and scold Dad for feeding the child in the middle of the night. Senior, you really should have seen the panicked look on his face. This late night meal reminded me of countless late nights from the past. The funeral of the Front Count Cross will be held tomorrow. Since Crossroad is a city that doesn't place much emphasis on funeral culture, I'm organizing everything. If you want, you could also serve as the chief mourner. No need, you handle it, Senior. I respect my father. I think he was a great man who dedicated his life to protecting everyone here. But no matter what he did for the people here, I still can't forgive him. Senior, have you heard how my mother died? Dad protected the city but didn't look after Mom. I understand understand why Dad made that choice, but I still can't accept it. As the Lord, his primary duty was to protect the city, and at least Dad was loyal to his duties. But on the day Mom's coffin was buried in the orchard, Dad didn't come. Instead, he went to the southern front because he needed to prepare for the next attack. That's what a Lord of Crossroad is supposed to do. After all, that's the most important thing. As I buried my mother's empty coffin, I realized something. The Lord of the Cross family has to be that kind of person, and I can't be that person. So, is that why you left here? Yes, because I am destined not to be that person. Thank you for preparing my father's funeral, but even though I think Cheryl Cross was a respectable man, I can't forgive him as my father. Thank you for the midnight snack. Eating food personally made by His Highness is a great honor for me. Being the head of a household is so difficult. It's getting late. Let's go to sleep. By the way, Your Highness, are you okay? Your family matters are also complicated, aren't they? That's why you helped Miss Evangeline, because you saw your own past in her. I may be slow, but I can see that. As a transmigrator, Ash didn't actually know anything about the past of the third prince. He wasn't sure if Lucas's question was out of concern or if he was testing whether he was really Ash. In that instant, Ash felt an unease surge up, unsure why. Ash felt Lucas becoming somewhat a stranger. Why would he ask that, and how should I respond? After all, he was the son of the Emperor. Naturally, his family matters were not simple, but how could Lucas possibly know about Ash's family matters? The usually calm and collected Ash was silent now. He didn't know how to answer the question. I'm very sorry. I shouldn't have brought up such sad matters for the Lord. I believe that both your family issues and Miss Evangeline's will be resolved smoothly. Ash wasn't sure if he was overthinking, but after this incident, he knew he had to be more cautious in the future and find out more about the background and details of the body he was inhabiting. It was only then that he truly felt that this body wasn't entirely his own. Time quickly moved to the next day, and Crossroads City began preparing for the next stage. The upcoming attack involved a Golem Legion, including large monsters and a few elite ones. To counter them, defense installations needed to be strengthened. 103. No matter what variations occur next, they must be perfectly addressed. This time, there can be no accidents. Thus, Ash kept ordering products from various production departments, urging them to hurry. Another day passed, and the Wilderness Cemetery on the west side of Crossroad was preparing for a funeral. Although many were injured in Stage 2, only one person had died, Cheryl Cross, the previous Lord of Crossroad. Your Highness, the pallbearers have set out. Then let's get ready as well. The pallbearers set out from the temple, moving slowly along the city's main road. People lined up in long queues, following the pallbearers. The deceased was the former lord who had protected the city for decades. Even in a city numb to death, many came to mourn. The pallbearers then stopped in front of the cemetery. It was decided that the funeral would take place here, and the coffin would be buried in the orchard where the front count had lived, as that's also where the countess's grave was located. I've said it before, everyone's life is precious. That's not a metaphor. It really is more valuable than money. But the sacrifice of Cheryl Cross, the front count, transcends monetary loss, and I deeply mourn him. The front count once told me to bring joy to people. Mourning and sadness would bring the city to a halt. This is a fortress city where sacrifice is inevitable. He wanted me to bring hope and joy, not sadness. But today, I am going against the front count's last wishes. Today I am going to allow myself to feel sad. This front line was secured with countless precious lives, not just the front counts. Every person who died here is heartbreaking. It's because of this pain that I hope everyone will remember how precious their sacrifices were. Their sacrifices and dedication protected the Empire and the world of humanity. I hope you will always remember this. You too may perish on this front line someday, and it will be meaningful. Now, let's have a moment of silence for those who saved the world. In truth, Ash didn't want to see such scenes anymore. He hoped that one day the city would no longer hold funerals but celebrations every day. As the front count had hoped, the salute to the deceased echoed across the sky, marking the end of the front count's funeral. Cheryl Cross's coffin was transported to his orchard. There, they encountered a familiar yet strange figure. It was Evangeline, grown up, the front count's only daughter. Coming all this way from the capital must have been hard. I'm sorry about the front count. We should have protected him better. Can I open the coffin to take a look now? Once the coffin was opened, the front count lay there peacefully. So it's true. He always rushed to the front to fight, as if he would never die. But in the end, thank you. Close the coffin now. And so, the front count's coffin was buried next to his wife's. Miss, I have something to ask you. This is a piece of armament used by the front count, passed down through the Cross family. It was intended to be buried in the Lord's grave, but just in case, I wanted to ask you. It's a bit worn, but with some repairs, it could be used again. No need. Bury it. Please keep this with my father. After the priests completed their blessings, the front count's life finally came to an end. In a world built with walls of ice and snow, such as the desolate and tragic road of life, this was a line of poetry Ash loved, which he had intended to recite at the funeral, but since it didn't fit the ceremony's protocol, he decided against it. Ash recalled what the front count had once told him. The moment will come when you must sacrifice your most precious possession to protect a city. But Ash had arrived in this world alone. What precious thing did he have to lose? And if that moment really came, could he still maintain his sense of self? I didn't expect you to have such a refined interest as reciting poetry. It's precisely because it doesn't suit me that I memorize it secretly, and yet you still found out. out. Your voice is very pleasant. How about reciting louder in the future? Are you feeling better now? I'm fine now, because this was bound to happen sooner or later. After becoming a knight on other fronts, I won't return to the city. If one day my father passes away and I can't be there for his end, it was meant to be. Being able to attend his funeral is fortunate enough. Evangeline had decided from the start to leave this place, so this time she chose to bury the family heirloom weapons along with him. Then let me help you sort out the estate. After all, it's difficult for a youngster to handle everything. Let an adult help you. Aren't you going to persuade me? I'm about to abandon my family's enterprise and run away to live freely, making a selfish choice. The Cross family has done enough. Although I don't know if I can complete tasks as excellently as your family, I will do my best to protect this place from now on. So, you can leave without worry to ensure that your family's years of sacrifice were not in vain. I will do my utmost. You are really nothing like the rumors. I thought being demoted here, you would find a way to return, but to my surprise, you took the role of Lord seriously, which is quite astonishing. It's because someone told me that as long as I protect this place well, one of my wishes would be fulfilled, so that's why I'm taking it seriously. Ash stayed not because of some noble cause, but to fulfill his own personal wish and to properly navigate the true end of the story. The funeral is over. Let's all go back and eat. The deceased have been buried, and the living must continue on. From that day on, Ash was dealing with two matters: preparing for the next stage and sorting out the Cross family's estate. Evangeline decided to leave this place for somewhere else, and this was also the front count's last wish. It seems you have decided to let Miss Evangeline leave. I understand. I will liquidate all the Cross family's assets and handle any issues that arise during the inheritance process. However, I must warn you, it's difficult to handle these matters within a week. Most of the Cross family's assets are immovable properties, and I'm not sure if buyers will appear within a week. Then set a reasonable price and purchase it in my name. I want to liquidate everything within a week, then send Evangeline off before the next scene begins. All the Cross family had perished on this front, and Evangeline was the last heir of the Cross family. In other words, the only survivor. At least Evangeline shouldn't be involved in the battles here. She needs to leave safely. I understand. Trust me with this. I will handle it properly. Time relentlessly marched on, and in just 8 days, the next defense battle would arrive as expected. Ash thought to himself that he wanted to show Ader that it was possible to conquer this game without sacrificing humanity or using lives as cannon fodder. A week later, Ash visited the blacksmith shop. I'm very sorry, because this was our first time making a mana gun. We encountered many difficulties and it took a lot longer to complete, so we weren't able to finish all 5 guns. That's alright. After all, this equipment is very difficult to manufacture. Although the mana gun is a piece of equipment from 100 years ago, it requires the cooperation of alchemists and blacksmiths to create, making it very complex to produce. We only managed to complete 2. Bring them here. I won't blame you. When Ash received the mana gun, he was startled because it was actually an SSR grade weapon. This is a mana gun made with the top grade mana core you provided. The tutorial scenario was originally unbeatable, but Ash had defeated the queen there and obtained this mana core. Originally, the Black Spider army, which this core was meant to equip against, would not be encountered until the 2nd year, so equipment made with this mana core was bound to be ahead of its time. But Ash had not expected it to be a weapon that would disrupt the game's balance. At least for the first year, he could rely on this weapon to wreak havoc. Moreover, Damien, who would use this weapon, would be significantly empowered. It's like having a cheater character with clairvoyance. Because of this weapon, the upcoming game's difficulty could finally be lowered a bit. Your Highness seems very pleased. We felt as if something was drawing us in during the entire manufacturing process, and we are also thrilled to have created such a masterpiece. The other gun looks quite ordinary, though it has some flaws, but they are not a problem for Damien. You both have done very well, and the rest of the workshop too. I will make sure to reward you handsomely. Ash then left the blacksmith shop with Lucas. Your Highness, is this mana gun really that powerful? Of course, it will change the course of the war. There are still 20 hours until stage 3 starts, which is enough time for Damien to get accustomed to the mana gun. To prepare for tomorrow's battle, Ash boarded the carriage home early. Your Highness, you better come and see this. It turned out that Evangeline was already standing at the entrance of the Lord's mansion. Isn't everything taken care of? Evangeline, did you forget something? Today, Ader gave me the property deeds. With the money listed on those deeds, I can live comfortably anywhere. I'm very thankful that you handled these matters so quickly for me. But after giving me the deeds, Ader said something else. The Lord said, now that you have the money, the city has nothing to do with you anymore. I hope you pack your bags and leave quickly. After I packed my bags, they kicked me out of the mansion. Did the senior really tell him to do that? Yes, everything he did was per my orders. Aren't you rushing to kick me out? I haven't even had the chance to properly say goodbye to everyone. If you're going to leave, then hurry up. Why bother building relationships with everyone here? This place will turn into a battlefield tomorrow. Do you want to get dragged into the mud and fight alongside us? Stop talking nonsense and just go. You have nothing to do with this city now. I could also stay and help you in the next defense battle. After all, you helped me too. If you're going to leave, then leave cleanly. Don't make a mess. Even without your little help, I can still protect the city. Haven't you seen me fight? I can also contribute. Evangeline, how long are you going to keep this this up. Haven't you already made up your mind to leave and start a new life? You've given up your title, settled your family's finances, and completely let go of your last ties and nostalgia. That's true, but if you've made up your mind, then don't waver. Leave without looking back. Just like you said, this is the front line against monsters, a place of death and dust. Once you step on this path, you'll never be able to escape it. Don't get involved in any wars against monsters in the future. Leave forever. Go find what you really want to do. I hope you can live freely and as you wish. That's your father's last wish. At that moment, Evangeline could hardly believe these were words her father would say. You once said you wanted to be an unfilial daughter, always opposing your father, but this time, fulfill his last wish. From now on, you are an outsider, and this mansion no longer belongs to your family. We need to hold a meeting to prepare for tomorrow's defense battle, and I hope you can leave quickly. I'll take one last look at my parents' grave and then leave Crossroad immediately. Thank you, Your Highness, for your care these past few days. I hope you remain invincible in battle. Ash didn't respond to her, only silently wishing in his heart that her future life would be filled with luck. After closing the door, Ash immediately collapsed to the ground. Was it really necessary to be so harsh? If I wasn't harsh, she might linger here. Didn't you hear her? Help me in the defense battle. Contribute my part. Besides, parting doesn't have to be tearful. A stack of property deeds is enough. Let her have one last look at her parents' grave, hoping she has a smooth journey ahead. Let those who are leaving, leave. We still have work to do. By your command, Your Highness, let's proceed with the battle meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, long time no see. Has everyone rested well? The team was back to the original 5 members. Why is it always me? Haven't you found someone to replace me yet? A brief taste of freedom. Sweet, isn't it? Now it's time to follow my command again. Please, let me go back to the workshop. I promise I'll work hard there. With less than a day left until the defense battle, Ash decided to finalize the team's strategy. Damien, I've brought you another gift. This man a gun. Your Highness, the scouting troops report that the monsters have appeared. They are a golem legion, numbering over 200, and are currently moving towards the city at high speed. What are you talking about? There's still time before the stage starts. However, a sudden system pop-up informed Ash that the soldier was not lying. Due to some unknown factors, the start of the stage had been moved up. Your Highness, it's reported that the monsters have split into 2 groups. More than 100, making up 80% of the troops, are advancing towards the city, while the 20% around 50+ monsters are heading towards the orchard where the front count lived. What? Are you saying that's all true? Evangeline was supposed to be at that orchard right now. Meanwhile, soldiers on the city walls were already springing into action. Everyone, pick up the pace. The Golem Legion is closing in. The monsters are attacking. Scout, where are the enemies now? With the naked eye, they're right there. A soldier pointed to the distance, where the massive Golem Legion loomed like a moving wall. Although they had encountered them in dungeons, the oppressive feeling of hundreds of monsters attacking simultaneously was completely different. When will they come within range of the cannons? At their current speed, they're expected to arrive within 15 minutes. Get in formation and be ready to fire before then. Your Highness, aren't you going to save her? Ash didn't understand why the stage had suddenly started and why the monsters had split into 2 groups. All these simultaneous events were no coincidence. The Golem Legion's sudden appearance before the city walls, and a faction heading towards Evangeline's orchard, made Ash feel a massive malevolence, as if someone was changing the whole situation according to their whims. He didn't know where this malevolence was coming from or who was trying to mess up the game. Your Highness, we're aware of the situation. Let us go and save Evangeline. The front-line defenses are still robust, and even without us old soldiers, they can hold back the monsters. There's no time left. Your Highness, the monsters are closing in, and soon it will be too late to send a rescue squad. Everyone, calm down. You are mistaken in 2 respects. The first mistake is thinking our current defensive line is robust. Do you really think the front line looks robust right now? Because of the monsters' sudden appearance, we haven't even perfected the basic defenses, let alone the divine artifacts. Even the cannons aren't in position yet, even if we manage to get them arranged before the monsters arrive. But if you leave the front line, there will only be new recruits left here. Do you really think these new recruits alone can withstand an attack from the Golem Legion? That's the first mistake. The second mistake is that you think just a few of you can rescue Evangeline. The front count's orchard has no defensive structures, just gentle slopes and plains. Right now, 50 large elite golems are heading there. Even if there were walls, you would be wiped out, let alone when there's no defense at all. Think again. How could you possibly rescue Evangeline? The reason this game is a defense type is because the walls provide an overwhelming advantage, but to confront the monsters head-on in the plains is simply suicidal. Your Highness, even if we all get wiped out, we must go save Evangeline. But have you thought about it? That's not combat, that's suicide. Do you think, just by going there to die, those monsters will spare Evangeline? I need a viable battle plan, not just for you to go and die in vain. So what do you plan to do? If no one goes to save the lady, she will surely die. We can't just stand by. Ash was well aware of their concerns. You're right, if we don't send support, Evangeline will indeed die. But to save her, we need to select the best members and form a powerful rescue team. We need to send main team members there, along with some soldiers to fend off the monsters while the main team engages them, but doing so would mean failure in the defense battle. While we could save save Evangeline. If our defense lines collapse, the game would end prematurely. At that moment, Ash truly understood the situation the front count had been in. All units, listen to my command. I will not allow any of you to go on a rescue mission, because the answer has been clear from the start. We cannot afford to waste our forces. We must focus all our efforts on the defense line here. The lives of one versus the lives of tens of thousands. There shouldn't be any hesitation from the start. If the walls here fall, tens of thousands of people in Crossroad will die, and ultimately, it could even put the entire world in jeopardy. We must hold the front line at all costs. No matter what happens, we must continue the conquest. If the game ends, what's the point of rescuing an SSR character? I'll say it again, I will not allow any of you to go on a rescue mission. Meanwhile, in the southeastern part of Crossroad, there was a dilapidated villa where the front count had once lived. Unlike the villa, the orchard showed signs of recent upkeep, but what they had in common was their state of abandonment. Whenever the sun rose and the temperature warmed up, even the land tainted with monster blood would see many trees flowering and fruiting. Evangeline suddenly realized that she would never see these sights again, as she was about to leave this place forever. Since her mother's death, Evangeline had also gradually distanced herself from home. I heard that after that, it was my father who took care of this place alone. Just a few days ago, he must have been here, tending to these trees, perhaps even hoping for a bountiful fruit harvest this year. Even though he knew it was unlikely, he really was foolish. Her parents were gone, and she was about to leave too. This place, once her home, was a ruin before and would remain so in the future. The Cross family, which had guarded this place for hundreds of years, ended up so insignificantly. Nothing was left but death and dust. Even the family name and the last vestiges of honor had been sold off for a mere slip of paper. As the last remnant of the Cross family, I'm running away without even having been to the battlefield. I won't be able to visit you anymore because I'm leaving here forever, Evangeline said softly, knowing she wouldn't get any response, but still hoping perhaps her father might suddenly appear and sternly reprimand her. I had so much more to say to you, but now I can't remember any of it. Evangeline suddenly felt dizzy, her head pounding, almost as if the ground were shaking. Is it only now that I'm falling into sorrow? She remembered asking her mother as a child, when can I go to the front line? I heard from Dad that the heirs of the Cross family must fight on the front line. Doesn't Mom want me to protect everyone? It's not about what I want, because that is the fate of the Cross family. I'm just sad. Mom, you didn't know it would turn out like this, did you? You didn't know you'd be worried about Dad whenever the monsters attacked, and that I would have to fight in such places when I grew up. Her mother had picked her up and stroked her head. I know all about it. I knew that every night the monsters attacked, after marrying your father, I'd cry myself to sleep. I also knew that having you meant that one day you'd go to the front line to fight, and I even felt sad for your fate. Then why did you marry Dad? Why did you have me? Why? Really? Maybe for the sake of legacy. Evangeline's mother had been dead for 3 years, yet she still couldn't understand why her mother, knowing the fear and sadness of the future, chose to face it alone. She stood there for a long time. As the sun was about to set, she felt she might never understand. She remembered that it had been a long time since her parents had seen her smile. Before leaving, Evangeline managed a forced smile. After adjusting her emotions, she prepared to embrace her new life. However, just then, a giant steam engine golem appeared before her. Evangeline was struck by the massive force, flung back against a wall, and knocked unconscious. Soon, pain from various parts of her body woke her up. Her weapon lay not far away, and the good news was she hadn't been unconscious for long. Evangeline didn't know why the golem had appeared there, but before she could sort out her thoughts, her body instinctively started to move. Just then, the steam engine golem threw a powerful punch. She was slammed into the villa, but her instinctive reaction allowed her to block the blow with her shield. You damn thing, breaking into someone's home like this. Come on then, you bullish bastard. Watch me turn you into a pile of scrap. Just when another second passed, 2 more steam engine golems appeared in front of her. Evangeline could only defend against one while attempting to attack the other, but she soon realized that she couldn't block the attack in front of her. Damn it, haven't you had enough already? She yelled angrily, ignoring her injuries and charging at one of the steam engine golems again. Evangeline had already taken too much damage. Every attack was extremely powerful. She knew her previous defeats were due to being ambushed by the steam engine golems and being attacked simultaneously by 3 monsters. As an SSR level hero, Evangeline would not be easily defeated by these creatures, but it suddenly occurred to her that the monsters had started their attack a day earlier than expected. She realized she needed to hurry back and alert everyone that the enemy had already arrived. However, as soon as she stepped out of the house, she was stunned. There were countless steam engine golems advancing in her direction. Evangeline then understood that the initial 3 were just the vanguard scouts, and what she was now seeing was the real main force of the monsters. Knowing she couldn't defeat so many, her first instinct was to flee, but the horse had already been startled away, and now the only place she could go was Crossroad. Evangeline's legs were injured, and she wasn't sure if she could make it back, but given the circumstances, she had to try regardless. There was still some distance between her and the enemy. This was her only chance. At that moment, the golems in the sky began to move. Evangeline instinctively raised her shield to defend, but fate played a cruel trick, and she tripped at the critical moment. moment. Her trait flaws were all too apparent, especially at the most critical times. Powerful magic rained down like droplets, and fortunately, Evangeline managed to save her own life in this attack. Her mind was still clear, and she made a quick assessment of the situation. It was all over. The last survivor of the Cross family would also stay here forever. Death, elusive and unexpected, was about to descend. Evangeline gave up struggling, but her heart was filled with reluctance. There were so many things she hadn't done. She hadn't fallen in love, hadn't taken risks, hadn't tried new things, and hadn't even truly grown up. She hadn't even considered what she really wanted to do. Everything was about to end. Evangeline felt no anger or sadness, only regret. This was the emotion she felt in her last moments. How can you give up just like this? All the things you didn't get to do them one by one. Life is short, and it must be spent earnestly, without leaving any regrets. Senior, I'm here to save you, my dear Junior. Time went back to half an hour ago, on the southern walls of Crossroad. I'll say it again. I won't let any of you go on a rescue mission. The rescue team will consist of just me. I will go alone to save Evangeline. What are you talking about, Your Highness? You said there was no feasibility in this rescue plan, yet now you say you'll go alone? Are you seeking death? I want everyone to stay calm. I'm not going to my death, but going because I'm sure of victory. Ash was the only EX-ranked character in this game. Taking others would only increase the casualty count. Moreover, Ash had prepared several secret weapons, although a lot of it depends on luck. Now I can only take a chance. Everyone has been fighting under my command, so you should be very clear that I not only understand those monsters very well, but also can successfully navigate through very slim odds. This time, I also have a secret strategy, so the odds are in our favor. Trust me and let me go alone. There's no time left. Lucas, you take charge of commanding the front line. Let me go and save Evangeline instead. Please, Your Highness, stay here to command the front line. Everyone has their roles suited best, and the front line needs you, but we equally need you, Your Highness. Then you must trust my judgment as your lord. I promise you, I will return unharmed. If Ash gave up on Evangeline here, it would mean giving up on the precious morals he set for himself. He knew he had to save those who could be saved. This was the only way to both rescue Evangeline and hold the front line. You're in charge here. Lucas, Lily, Jupiter, you are mages. Even if I don't say it, you know your importance. You must give it your all. Make sure to come back safe, Your Highness. I'm still counting on that bonus you promised. Don't worry, Your Highness. I will do my best. Damien, I have a favor to ask of you. Whether we can come back alive depends on whether you can complete this task. After giving his instructions, Ash left the city alone. Take good care of things here. Lucas, I will return. Lucas didn't respond, but expressed his farewell with a knight's salute. Ash's actions were not just because an SSR hero was so important, but because he wanted to protect the daughter of the front count, the last survivor of the Cross family. I've come to save you, my dear Junior. First, drink this to recover some of your strength. Ash handed Evangeline a potion. What are you doing here? You should be running away. Didn't you see that army of golems there? The two of us can't handle them. Quick, run back to Crossroad, and I'll hold them off for you. But it's too late to run now. The stone golems in the sky will soon use their magic. However, the good news is that only 2 of the 5 magic stone golems, both elite high-tier monsters, have made it here as part of the assault team. These guys are essentially the bosses of this stage. What are you spacing out for? Didn't you hear what I said? Staying here will get you killed. I'm an orphan now. It doesn't matter anymore. But you're different. Senior brother, Prince Ash. You are now the new Lord of Crossroad. Before Evangeline could finish, Ash stuffed the potion into her mouth. Finally quiet. Drink this quickly and recover. Kids should act like kids and rely on adults sometimes. Ash had been looking forward to this moment for a long time. Come out, giant steam engine golem. Suddenly, a large magical circle appeared above Ash's head, and a massive head emerged from the circle. Then, a giant steam engine golem appeared before them. The boss from the second area jumped out of the magic circle, landing with such force that it created a large crater in the ground. Seeing the shock on Evangeline's face, Ash felt very satisfied, feeling it was worth risking his life to save her. A flash of blue light shone, and Ash successfully gained control of the giant steam engine golem, possibly because it was a boss. It had a variety of skills. Just then, the magic stone golems had completed charging their magic, and several magical attacks flew almost instantly towards Ash and Evangeline. The giant steam engine golem, following Ash's motions, raised its hand and a blue barrier enveloped it and the 2 behind it, blocking all attacks from the magic stone golems. What is this? Isn't this the monster we defeated in the dungeon? What else could it be? It's the lottery ticket I scratched off this time. After a brief exchange, the stone golems returned to the ground, realizing that their long-range attacks were ineffective, and decided to try to overwhelm with numbers. Let's see if your tactics are any good. Come on if you dare. As he finished speaking, the giant steam engine golem charged straight at the golem army. The golem army, not to be outdone, prepared to clash head-on with the giant steam engine golem. Just as they were about to collide, the giant steam engine golem suddenly leaped into the air. Take this, you bunch. Here comes the finishing move. The giant steam engine golem slammed down into the midst of the monsters, shattering many golems upon impact. Although there were many types of monsters, they were no match for this colossal entity. Monsters could generally be classified into 3 groups, with the boss monsters being in a complete completely different league from the other two. As leaders of the entire legion, they possessed tremendous strength, almost not to be considered as individual entities. This is why, even when facing an army of golems, the giant steam engine golem still managed to dominate. Although the summoning magic that controlled the monster boss could only be used once, it could still be considered a cheat item in the game. But even if the lion roars, the hyenas do not easily retreat. For the monsters, eradicating humans is the primary goal. Even the strongest boss cannot escape unscathed in front of 50 giant monsters. The giant steam engine golem was gradually falling into a disadvantage, as if a praying mantis were being devoured by a swarm of spiders. However, Ash had not expected it to repel all the enemies from the start. His goal was merely to buy enough time. Let's run now, while that thing can still hold them off. It can only be used once. How's your leg? I can walk, but I can't run. We need to get you running now, for your life. Without hesitation, Ash poured all the potion he had over Evangeline's leg. Does it feel better now? Can you run? Of course. Evangeline stood up, feeling much of her leg's strength return, ready to flee with Ash. Then let's go. Head north. I've left the horse there. But just then, the magic stone golems started moving again, accumulating magic in their hands. Senior, look, they're flying up again. What do we do now? Those golems are also chasing us, and it looks like they're not planning to let us go. Before Ash could think of a plan, the magic stone golem's attack was already coming their way. In a critical moment, Evangeline quickly raised her shield to protect Ash. Well done, Evangeline, but did I really have to bend so low to match your height? What can I do when you're so tall? Otherwise, block these attacks yourself. While bantering with Evangeline was fun, the magical attacks were indeed very threatening. Ash immediately ordered that the magic stone golems be targeted as the primary threat. Almost the instant he issued the command, the giant steam engine golem moved, blocking the attack and dealing a heavy blow to another magic stone golem. They should be safe from magical attacks for a while. Now, they needed to deal with the golems that had followed them. Damn it, Evangeline shouted angrily, leaping up and landing on top of a golem, piercing its body with a single spear thrust. You just did something cool there, even doing a somersault. Don't suddenly compliment me like that. Where exactly is the horse? Just over there. We're almost there. However, seeing the monsters behind them, the horse began to struggle wildly. At that moment, two magical attacks whizzed past Ash. The magical attacks precisely hit the tree where Ash had tied up the horse. It turned out that these were the last attacks of the magic stone golems as they died. Although it cost them their lives, they succeeded in thwarting Ash's plan. Their only means of escape, the horse, was lost. It looks like we need to change our plan. Time to implement plan B. We now need to eliminate them all. Eliminate all of them? Just the two of us? Are you crazy? This is the only way. Do you want to give it a try? With no other choice, Evangeline had to charge and head first. Good, Evangeline. You focus on defense. Only use your spear when the stored damage is at its maximum. Who will handle the attacks then? Leave the attacks to my prince's fist. Unexpectedly, with just one punch, Ash blew up a regular golem. Evangeline couldn't help but be curious. What's the principle behind the prince's fist? The principle is actually quite simple. It relies on the mercy of the god of chance. Although Ash knew that as a target of the game, one shouldn't rely too much on luck, he still continued to use the lucky strike gloves to maximize the use of his tools. But if we rely solely on luck, the game will ultimately fail. Use the damage payback to take care of the guy on the right, then block the attack from the left. As the game's strongest tank, Evangeline immediately followed the order, focusing entirely on defense and repelling the enemy with her spear. Evangeline perfectly executed Ash's commands. Well done, Evangeline. I'm going in too. He had always known this day would come, just didn't expect it to arrive so soon. Ash's lucky strike gloves unexpectedly dealt 0 damage this time. The cost of this mistake was great, as Ash, the attacker, received a massive backlash injury instead. Evangeline was shocked by the sight. Senior, your left hand. Don't make such a fuss. I was mentally prepared for this. He quickly poured potion over himself. The torn skin healed, and the broken bones were reset. Although he had managed emergency treatment, his left hand was now unusable. Buy me 10 seconds. Just 10 seconds of rest? Are you sure that's possible? It's not the time to rest. They're coming. Evangeline desperately blocked the golem's attack. Damn it, you bunch of stones. Enough is enough. Ash knew well that relying on luck would ultimately lead to the failure of the walkthrough. He continued to use the lucky strike gloves, because he had prepared a last resort for when luck ran out. Just then, Ash pulled out the mana gun, firing it and shattering the 3 golems in front of him. This was Ash's second ace, a mana gun forged from the Spider Queen's mana core, an SSR-grade weapon. Although this mana gun was meant for Damien, Ash had borrowed it temporarily to deal with an emergency. To cope with the injury to his left hand, Ash had brought all his cheat-level items to ensure he wouldn't be taken down by surprise. He knew, with these items, he still had a chance to win. Ash was still capable of taking down these golems. Although the mana gun was difficult to control in the current close-range firing scenario, even the ordinarily average Ash could easily hit his target. The downside of its great power was the terrifying recoil. Ash could not imagine the long-term effects on one's body from regularly using such equipment. He silently apologized to Damien, but there was nothing else he could do. At the same time, Evangeline's fight fight was also nearing its end. She defeated the last pursuing golem with her damage payback. It was only then that Ash finally had a chance to sit down and catch his breath. I have a lot of questions, but let me ask one thing first. What do we do next? I told you, we're going to take them all out. Let's head back to the villa first. I have a few more safety measures there. If they catch up, we're definitely dead. The only way to survive and get back is to take them all out here. At that moment, the giant steam engine golem was already at a disadvantage in the fight. Given the current situation, it wouldn't last much longer. But from the moment Ash had summoned it, he had been paying special attention to one ability. After Ash entered the command, the giant steam engine golem completed its final mission, self-destruction. Unfortunately, this self-destruction didn't kill all the golems. They still had to face the attack of 14 golems. We must run back to the villa before they recover. Just then, another attack from the magic stone golem flew towards them. Senior, that guy in the sky is still attacking us. As the game's strongest tank, Evangeline easily blocked the attack. The toughest one is still alive. No way around it. Villains always survive till the end. However, the good news is that there's only one magic stone golem left. The other was taken out by the giant steam engine golem's self-destruction. Now, they were very close to the front count's villa, but without the suppression of the giant steam engine golem, the stone golem's attacks continued to harass them. Eventually, Evangeline's shield reached its durability limit, yet the attacks of the stone golem showed no signs of stopping. If they couldn't block this wave of attacks, their rescue mission would end here. At a critical moment, Evangeline, by damage payback, successfully countered the stone golem's attack. However, her cavalry lance was not a defensive weapon, and eventually, it broke. At this point, the attack of the stone golem was imminent. Risking injury, Evangeline hugged Ash and dodged this wave of attacks. I'm okay. Quickly run inside the villa before the next wave of attacks from the stone golem arrived. They finally made it inside the villa as they wished. Now that we've made it to the villa as you said, but the golems have followed us here. Senior, you must have some good idea to change the situation. Trust me. Junior, I may not be a prince on a white horse, but I am quite the trickster. Ash then threw an SR grade mana core outside the door. Although part of the villa had collapsed, this provided lots of building materials. The SR grade mana core that Ash had just thrown was able to activate his fourth contingency plan. Almost instantly, automated defense turrets activated, blocking the breached part of the villa. As the golems were about to break into the villa, the defense turret's preparation was finally completed. The barrels began to spin rapidly, and the incoming golems were quickly torn apart. With the current firepower, Ash and Evangeline were temporarily safe. You think I would fall here, you damned monsters? However, the remaining golems suddenly began to retreat. They seemed to realize that continuing the fight would only lead to their total annihilation. Ash was puzzled. Why were these monsters acting so intelligently? Neither in the game nor in previous sieges had he encountered such behavior. At last, they could breathe a sigh of relief. It looks like we're safe for now. Evangeline relaxed. Senior, you really have a lot of bizarre tricks up your sleeve. I've used enough potions today to last a lifetime. Senior, do you have any other plans? What should we do next? Those monsters seem like they won't come back for now. Let's wait until sunset. Then I can activate other contingencies. Just then, Evangeline suddenly began to shudder, holding her shoulder. Ash noticed that it was the place where she had been hurt protecting him earlier, but he didn't expect even the potion could not alleviate her pain. Wait here for a second. I'll look for some bandages or something. Even though the front count no longer goes to battle, there are still many bandages left at home. Ash quickly found some and treated Evangeline's wounds. This should feel a bit better now. Thank you, Senior. You seem very familiar with this place. That's because I used to come here often to see your father. By the way, why is there so much alcohol here? Such a strong smell of alcohol. That's because Front Count Cross was a super heavy drinker. Every time I came over, he would drag me into drinking with him. Didn't you know? Your father had a severe alcohol problem, almost to the point of constant drunkenness. How could that be? In my memory, my father never touched alcohol in his life. In the girl's memory, her father was a man who never drank. As the Front Count, he needed to be alert at all times for any monster invasions, always ready to fight in top condition. It seems a lot has changed in the 3 years you've been away. He had a very hard time, to the point where he couldn't get through the day without alcohol. Hearing this, Evangeline was stunned. Even so, do you still hate your father? I still can't forgive him. What if 3 years ago the Front Count had abandoned the city to save your mother? Would you still blame him? At least I wouldn't hate him as much as I do now. But at that time, you were in the city. If your father had gone to save your mother, then the one in danger would have been you. Your father didn't abandon your mother. He chose to protect you. You know that too, right? Evangeline was silent for a moment before responding quietly. You're right. My father did everything he could. He always did. I know, but who else can I blame? My mother was brutally killed by monsters. I was angry, heartbroken, almost crazy. But they told me hating the monsters was useless because it was just an accident, a disaster. Then, who should I really blame? I've always known it's despicable. Instead of blaming those helpless monsters, I turned my father into a scapegoat. It's indeed despicable, but if I don't blame someone, it feels like I'm going to die from the pain. Hating uncontrollable disasters is harder than blaming someone I can see, because it's much easier to hate someone else than to forget the pain. Do you know? My father readily accepted my hatred. He said it was all his his fault. Not saving my mom. It was all his responsibility. So, I hated him even more openly. But now, you're asking me to forgive him. What should I do next? If it wasn't my father's fault, then whose fault is it really? No one is at fault. We all are just trying to survive. No one means harm. Everyone is just struggling to live. Yet, the invasion of monsters has hurt us, taken our families, friends, and comrades, all fallen to the creatures. People are inherently fragile, so it's inevitable. If you want to survive, you need a concrete object of hatred. So from now on, hate me. I'll take on this hatred for your father, because I am now the Lord of Crossroad, the person responsible for this place. The people here need someone to blame, someone to bear all these hellish burdens. If this hatred is also a mission that the Cross family must bear, then as the new Lord, I naturally have to take it over. I will be your object of hatred. So now, try to understand your father a bit. He didn't want much. He just hoped you would be happy, and it is because of his hope that I desperately came to save you. Stop messing up my bangs. Evangeline blushed, looked at Ash, and seemed to ponder something. She was just about to speak when the ground shook again. The monsters had surrounded the villa. If the golems attack the automatic defense turret at the same time, the turret won't be able to stop them from attacking from blind spots. If they attack together, we are certainly doomed. So we need to break out now. But senior, I don't have a weapon. I can't fight now. Don't you still have spare equipment? You buried it yourself a few days ago. Evangeline then remembered the Cross family's ancestral weapons were also buried in her father's tomb. Meanwhile, the golems had started charging at the villa simultaneously. Although the automatic defense turret's fire managed to shatter many golems, some broke through the turret's blind spots and approached the turret. As the golems converged around the turret, its firing stopped, but the turret's self-destruct cleared many golems. Now's our chance. Let's go. We need to get to your parents' grave. Almost the moment they left, the remaining golems chased after them closely. Ash quickly pulled out the mana gun and fired. Evangeline, run. Just a bit further, and we'll be there, where I left the last safeguard. Unbeknownst to Evangeline, she had already arrived at the orchard behind the villa. There stood her parents' tombstone, but she had no time for grief and began to dig quickly with her hands. Soon, under a pile of dirt, a wooden box appeared containing a worn cavalry spear and shield. These were the weapons used by the heads of the Cross family for generations, and at Evangeline's request, they had been buried with the front count on the day of his funeral. She vividly remembered, on the day she left, her father holding these weapons in his hands, handing them to her. I don't need this. I don't want to inherit this kind of thing. In truth, she hadn't really wanted to throw them on the ground. She had expected her father to scold her as he had before, but he did not. The weather up north is cold, especially the winters in the Imperial City are exceptionally harsh. Make sure to keep warm and don't catch a cold. You can come back anytime you want. However, Evangeline closed the carriage door without responding. The front count stood there foolishly, watching his daughter disappear at the end of the road until he could no longer see her. Now seeing these weapons again, Evangeline's heart was filled with mixed emotions. The spear and shield were severely worn, just like her father, who had aged overnight after losing his wife. Evangeline still remembered how imposing they looked when she was a child. Why had they become like this now? Evangeline, what are you waiting for? The golems are catching up. Ash's shout pulled her from her reverie. With no time to think, Evangeline gripped the spear and shield with her mud-stained hands, ready for the imminent battle. Senior, did you say that you had another safeguard? Correct. You are my last safeguard. With your father's weapons, fight as he taught you. Although Evangeline wanted to argue with Ash, there was no time left. The golems were already too close. Holding the shield and spear tightly, she felt as if these weapons had found their long-lost master, perfectly fitting into her hands. For some reason, Evangeline suddenly remembered her childhood days with her father. She recalled the first time she learned to use the spear and shield. Her father's voice echoed in her mind. Grip the spear a bit harder, like you're tightening something. You're doing very well. With this memory guiding her, Evangeline's unease vanished in an instant, as if her father was standing right behind her. Using the techniques her father had taught her, she effortlessly shattered a golem's core. However, she could not relax yet, as more golems were charging at her. Having regained the familiar feeling, Evangeline didn't hesitate to charge into the group of golems. Perhaps it was her imagination, but the golems' movements seemed to slow down, and the once challenging foes now appeared like moving targets. She instinctively knew how to step, how to adjust the rhythm of the fight. It felt like a clear path had opened up in front of her. With this feeling, Evangeline moved through the group of golems as if in an uninhabited realm. Yet, Evangeline still found it somewhat incredible. Why could she suddenly handle it so effortlessly? What was that feeling just now? Outstanding. I knew you could do it. Senior, what was that just now? I felt like I saw a certain path. What's going on? That's because these weapons have now become your personal gear. Even without upgrading, they can be used effectively, so that's why you felt that way. Although Ash's explanation sounded a bit bizarre, and Evangeline couldn't quite understand what he was talking about, she was certain that Ash knew the source of that feeling. But more urgently than that, there's still one last creature in the sky, the magic stone golem. Just then, the magic stone golem began to gather magical energy, preparing for a powerful attack. What should we do? It's too high for us to attack it, and we've run out of bullets for the magic rifle. Even if I throw my spear, if it misses, everything will be over. Of course, I have a way. say, I'm a prince, after all, full of clever tricks. He pointed towards the horizon. The sun is about to set. It'll be dark soon. Evangeline, here's your last instruction for today. Rush at that guy in the sky, and I'll take care of bringing it down. I'm off. The rest is up to you, senior. Evangeline charged towards the magic stone golem without hesitation. The final battle. Charge with all your might. As the attack was about to fall, that strange sensation surged again. Following the guidance of that path, Evangeline successfully dodged all of the magic stone golem's attacks. Well done, Evangeline. Now, with this, it's checkmate. Suddenly, Ash threw a torch he had obtained from the dungeon. Unexpectedly, the torch did not hit the magic stone golem. Watching this, Evangeline was taken aback, not understanding Ash's intention. Just then, a light flashed on the walls of Crossroad. A projectile struck the magic stone golem directly. Evangeline couldn't imagine that it was a bullet shot from Crossroad. The shot was so precise that it left her in disbelief. There's someone who managed to snipe from such a long distance, something humans shouldn't have been able to do. She wondered who the mysterious sniper could be. Stop thinking about that now, Evangeline. This is our only chance. Come on, finish off this creature and end this battle. At that moment, Evangeline discarded all her doubts and complex emotions, focusing all her energy on her most potent attack, which completely destroyed the magic stone golem. After killing all the creatures, Evangeline collapsed to the ground, exhausted. Well done, Ace Jr. I didn't expect you could really do it. Is it really all over now? Evangeline could hardly believe it. At least our fight here is over. The two of them together had managed to defeat 50 large monsters. Senior, you're really amazing to be able to accomplish such an incredible task. It's indeed an unbelievable story, and no one would believe it if told. But that's okay. Let it be a victory just for the two of us. Senior, can I pass out now? If I said no, could you still hold on? If that were an order, I would endure. Rest easy, little one. Ash watched Evangeline finally fall asleep peacefully.